Saudi Arabia says OPEC Plus must stay together, and Israel and Morocco are set to sign a historic cooperation agreement. You're watching the Daily Brief with Forbes. I'm Ramia Faraj. Saudi Arabia's energy minister says OPEC Plus must stay together for the long-term stability of the oil market. At an energy conference held over the weekend, Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman said, "We need to keep this consensus-building approach to be with us permanently because without it we will lose sight of our collective ambition." At the meeting, energy ministers of the UAE, Kuwait and Iraq said the group should stick to its current agreement to keep the market balanced and avoid any surplus. OPEC and its allies have so far been sticking to their plan to gradually roll back output cuts, adding 400,000 barrels a day each month until September 2022. Saudi Arabia's pharmacy retail chain Nahdi Medical intends to list 30% of its shares in an IPO on the kingdom's stock market. Nahdi aims to raise about $1.3 billion in what could be the largest share sale in the kingdom since Saudi Aramco went public. It may also seek a valuation of around $4.3 billion. Nahdi's two main shareholders, Al Nahdi Holding Company and Sedco Holding, would dispose part of their shares in the IPO but would remain long-term shareholders. Bahrain's GFH Financial Group launched and seeded a $100 million Sukuk fund following an agreement with Credit Suisse to offer financing and fund administration services. The fund has a portfolio of a sovereign, quasi-sovereign, and corporate Sukuk, as well as Sukuk-related securities from various countries and issuers, primarily in the Gulf. Officials say the GFH Sukuk fund aims to capitalize on post-pandemic economic growth and recovery. EFG Hermes' investment banking division has completed the first issuance worth $50.5 million of Egyptian real estate developer Misr Italia Properties' $158.9 million securitization program. The first issuance is backed by a receivables portfolio of around $63.5 million, originated by two of Misr Italia's subsidiaries. The bond sale features three tranches, with the first divided into fixed installments and the second and third to be dispersed according to the portfolio's proceeds. Israel and Morocco are set to sign a historic cooperation agreement which aims to establish the economic foundations of trade relations between the countries. Israeli officials arrived in Morocco over the weekend for a visit aimed at developing economic and trade ties. It's the latest sign of expanding cooperation after the countries normalized relations in 2020. Their bilateral trade amounted to about $130 million last year. The UAE and the US want an extra $4 billion of global investment to speed up innovation in climate-smart agriculture and build resilience to climate change. The Agriculture Innovation Mission, or AIM for Climate, now wants $8 billion in climate-smart investment commitments by November. The UAE and the US rolled out AIM for Climate at COP26 talks last November, originally aiming for $4 billion in investment from governments and non-government innovation partners. Let's take a look now at today's Forbes Real-Time Billionaires ranking. It tracks the daily ups and downs of the world's richest people. Today we focus on Eastern markets as Western markets are still closed. Our biggest loser today is Gautam Adani, down $2 billion with net wealth of $89.2 billion. Our second biggest loser today is Robin Zhang, down $1.4 billion with net wealth of $46.5 billion. And our third place loser is Tencent Holdings chairman Ma Huateng, down $1.2 billion with net wealth of $49.1 billion. Check out our website and our social media for all of the latest Billionaires news. Australia reopened its borders to vaccinated tourists today, nearly 2 years after it imposed some of the world's strictest COVID-19 travel restrictions. Australia closed its borders to almost everyone except citizens and residents in March 2020 to slow surging COVID-19 numbers. There were jubilant scenes at its two major airports in Sydney and Melbourne today as family and friends finally reunited after years apart. I'm Ramia Faraj. This is the Daily Brief. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.